What's good everyone, this is Alex from DopeBoyzMuzic, back with another sample breakdown. Today we are going to talk about a sample called Catch Me If You Can from Vol.3. There's a lot of interesting sounds in this one. We're going to talk about textures and what makes this sample work in particular. So stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. Let us first talk about the body of this sample. When I do these breakdowns, first I like to talk about what keeps the main rhythm of this sample going. With this one it's very simple. We have the drums, which is basically just a hi-hat. Play some tom fills here and there, but no, steady groove. Then we also have this bass. And lastly, we have this Rhodes sound. And you know, everything else happens on top of that. So let's talk about the chords real quick. First of all, we have a C minor 9. And the second chord is a D flat major 7/9. There is a flute sound that plays this pattern right here. You know, the seminotes. And then it goes up. And the first chord does this. So it puts an emphasis on the ninth. Makes you hear that there is a ninth in the chord, right? On the second chord, however, it does this. So there's even hints of an 11th in the second chord with the flute. So the flute in that part sounds very mystical almost. You know, it's always a good idea to add upper structures like 7s, 9s, 11s. You want to create a certain vibe, you know, which is what I did right here. So let's go to the main melody. And here we are going to talk about texture a bit. Texture in a traditional music sense, not in like a, I'm going to add this fizzle to my track type of sense. So, you know, texture in a traditional music sense means the quality of the sound that plays something. Here we have this melody. Let's just call that a choir. And this is the choir and the main elements right here. You know, nothing fancy. But what I want to talk about is I layered this choir sound with different sounds. So we have the choir and we also have an organ playing the exact same melody. And then we also have this guitar playing the same melody. So basically the thing with textures is you layer different sounds to create a certain quality of sound, you know? So don't just think of it in terms of like, oh, it sounds fatter now, or, you know, all these music producer terms that you throw around to like say something is better, but just really try and listen to the difference. You know, when you create these textures, when you layer sounds with each other, it always creates a certain quality of sound. You know, in classical music, for example, it's a very important thing to know your textures when you orchestrate. A mixture of strings and flute sounds different than a mixture of strings and brass sounds. If you want to create, for example, a strong orchestral vibe, you would rather mix the strings with the brass, you know, and you would have flutes play like in the gaps or something. And this is the exact same thing, a little bit simplified. You have the choir that sounds very airy and almost indirect because of all the reverb and all of the processing that's going on. But then you have this organ. And because of all the like high frequencies of the organ, it sounds like it emphasizes the breathing of the choir. And then you have this electric guitar. It sounds very direct and very distorted almost. So the mixture of these three creates a new single sound, so to say. Like all these sounds together combined, they create a new sound. And it's different from if you would drop one of these elements or if you would add another element to it. Basically what I want to say is you should experiment with textures, different layers of sounds playing the same thing. And if you like something, save that on your, mental hard drive. And if you ever create or work with another track, you can come back to it and say, last time I did this, I layered it with this and it created a very cool texture. In this pack, for example, I did this choir and organ thing, I think 2 or 3 times. And it's a texture that I really like, this. So just keep that in mind when you work with sounds, when you have an interesting melody, maybe just like layer it with other stuff and see what texture it creates. Okay, so we have the main melody, flute, the chords. There's also this wah-wah guitar right here. And everything together sounds like this. This is basically the chorus of the sample. It has a very airy vibe to it. And then you look at the arrangement real quick. We have 2 choruses. So the blue stuff right here, that's the choir, that always plays during the chorus. And then in these parts right here, we have solos. So there was a lot of amazing solo work done with this sample. When we got the stems back from our guitarist, he played a bunch of dope stuff over this. Same with the guy who played the flutes on this sample. And there was so much good solo work that I didn't want it to cut out. So the sample turned out to be very long. It's almost 3 minutes, I think. So here's the flute solo after the first chorus. The flute also sits very well in this mixture of sounds. The instrument fits the vibe of this very well. So maybe you picked up that there is a little delay automation right here. And in the second chorus, we have a couple more instruments. So we have this organ right here, or synth. We have this synth key sound right here. And this is the DX7 from Arturia. It's called Ideologic Organ. It's kind of a cool sound, for layers. And also we have this wah-wah pedal to add more to the rhythm. Also, the flute doesn't play these half steps anymore. It plays fills now. And in the second verse, we go into a guitar solo. The chords are the same throughout the entire thing. And instead of going back to the chorus, we go into this break part. Listen to the effects when this part comes in. And we also have this sound right here that played chords in the chorus. Now it plays this melody. There's this guitar right here that plays arpeggios with a nice tremolo to it. This leads into the next part, which is kind of an acoustic part. So we have flute solo, we have acoustic guitars, the drums dropped, the arpeggios, electric guitar. I got all of these stems from our guitarist and I didn't feel like the acoustic guitar fits into the main part of the sample, but I wanted to integrate it somehow. So I created this outro, and I still had some leftover flute solo fills and tried to create this with those parts. And I think it turned out really, really well. So that's basically the entire sample. You know, it sounds kind of mystical, kind of airy, and that was the entire idea behind this sample. Is if you sample it, you could create some sort of mellow trap type beat. So I hope you enjoyed this sample breakdown. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did. And also check out the Soul Chat Sample Pack Volume 3 on our website. The link is in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.